these notes are on the cell cycle. And the cell cycle basically is the entire event that occurs from when a cell begins and then when it goes through its division. And the cell cycle has multiple steps, but the first step is called interphase. And in interphase, the cell is preparing for division. And the way that it prepares for division is that the cell gets bigger. And this is actually called G1. It's a subphase of interphase. Then DNA is copied. And this is called S, or synthesis phase. And then last minute cell prep before it goes through its division. And that's called G2. So interphase actually has 3 mini phases inside of it. That's the first step of the cell cycle. The next step of the cell cycle is mitosis. And mitosis is division of the nucleus. And mitosis actually has phases inside of it. And they are going to be prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. And I'm going to go into more detail about those 4 phases here in a minute. So this is the first step of the cell cycle, the second part of the cell cycle, and then the third part of the cell cycle, I'm going to put this over here because I ran out of room, is cytokinesis. And cytokinesis is division of the cytoplasm. And then it starts all over again. So this whole thing is a cycle. It's just continuous, goes through interphase, goes through mitosis, goes through cytokinesis, and then it starts over again. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through and draw the different phases in order. And I'm probably going to have to use multiple screens. And I'm going to tell you what they look like, and then the different parts that you need to know, and then also the descriptions. Because for the SOL, you need to know all of those things. All right, so interphase is first. So go ahead and write interphase. And again, this is the first part of the cell cycle. And for interphase, you have your cell. You have your nucleus. You have these squiggles. And then you have these little boxes with little strings pointing out of them, okay? So let me just label this, and they're going to be the same thing throughout the entire drawing section, so I'm not going to label them in every single drawing. These little squares are called centrioles. And remember, centrioles help the chromosomes move around in the cell. These lines are called spindle fibers. And the spindle fibers connect the centrioles to the chromosomes. Okay, these little squiggles, these are called chromatin, which is DNA that's not visible. So in interphase, what you need to know is that the cell is preparing for division. DNA is copied. And chromosomes are not visible because they're in that noodle form. And that's really important because in the next phase, they are visible. Okay, so the next phase is prophase. And prophase is actually the first step in mitosis. So now we're moving into mitosis. So in prophase, you have your cell, you have your nucleus. Now your chromosomes have turned into X's. I just picked 4 because I like 4. I just like that even number. So again, I still have the centrioles, I still have the spindle fibers. So in prophase, what you need to know is that the chromosomes become visible because now you can see them, they're in X's. And you can also remember that the spindle forms at this time. And that's just going to help the chromosomes move around. So that's prophase. That's the first step in mitosis. Moving on, we have metaphase, which is still in mitosis. So at this point, you have your cell, and in metaphase, the nucleus has gone away. It's disappeared, and the chromosomes have moved toward the middle of the cell. And they move toward the middle of the cell by the spindle fibers and the and the centrioles. So chromosomes move to middle of cell. And it's easy to remember because middle and metaphase both start with M. Okay, the next one is anaphase. So in anaphase, you have your cell, you have your centrioles, and the X's have separated, so now they're V's. So in anaphase, the chromosomes separate and move to opposite ends of the cell. And then we have telophase. And telophase is actually the last phase in mitosis. And in this phase, the cell is going to look like a butt. So we have our cell right here. And we're doing the animal cell, obviously, because it's in a circle. So this little crack is actually called the cleavage furrow. So you need to remember that. That is what that is called, because that's where the cell is actually going to divide. So in telophase, the nucleus are coming back, and they're going to be in each one. I'm just going to move it over here. And we still have our centrioles and our spindle fibers. They're just chilling. And the chromosomes are now back in the nucleus. So they went back into their little nucleus house. So in telophase, though, the nucleus divides, because that's essentially what telophase means. The nucleus divides. So this is the end of mitosis. Now the last phase is called cytokinesis. Now cytokinesis is not part of mitosis, it's part of the cell cycle, and it's the last step. So what happens in cytokinesis is that the cell's going to completely divide. So now we're going to have two. The chromosomes are going to turn back into noodles. We have our centrioles and all that good stuff. And what you have is that the cytoplasm divides. And you get two identical daughter cells. And that is the cell cycle.